Hello everyone, my name is Jovieli Mario, and I'll be showing you guys how I use a generative AI to create a short story called The Boy and the River, which I made by the way. So wait, first of all, what is generative AI? Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create a new content such as images, music, and stories based on the prompt that we give to the AI, of course. So, in this project, I'll be using AI to turn into some prompts into a short story where you could learn from it. Now, I'll be doing three prompts, and each prompt that I wrote, I will try to refine the story based on my judgment, so it's on my opinion. And the goal of it is to demonstrate how AI can help visualize storytelling through prompt engineering and creative iteration. Now, let us start our first story. Once, in a quiet village surrounded by rice fields, there lived a boy named Arga. Every day after school, he would run to the river that curved like a silver ribbon behind his house. It was his secret world where dragonflies danced and the water whispered stories only he could hear. Argo wasn't like the other boys who played football or helped their fathers in the fields. He liked to sit by the riverbank, throwing pebbles and wondering where the water came from and where it would go. His mother often called him a dreamer, but Arga didn't mind. One evening, after a long rain, the river was wider and wilder than ever. Arga saw a small wooden boat drifting downstream, empty and half filled with rainwater. Without thinking, he jumped in and let the current take him. The river carried him past familiar fields, through forests he had never seen, and under bridges he had only heard about in stories. As night fell, the stars shimmered above him, and he realized that the river wasn't just water, it was alive, guiding him gently. When the boat finally touched the shore, Argo found himself at a place where the river met the sea. The air smelled of salt, and the horizon seemed endless. He stood there, barefoot on the sand, watching the waves blend into the moonlight. For the first time, he understood what the river had been trying to tell him all along. Every journey, no matter how small, leads to something vast. When Aga returned home the next morning, his mother scolded him for worrying her, but he only smiled. The river still whispered behind their house, but now its voice sounded like a friend. For our second prompt, I think the first story it lacked the personality, so I decided for our second prompt to add more personality, and this is the result. Arga was not that kind of boy who sat still. His teacher said he had too many questions. His mother said he had too little patience, and his father said he had a head full of clouds. But Arga didn't care. The world, he thought, was far too interesting to stay quiet about. Every afternoon, when other kids were chasing chickens or playing football in the dusty field, Arga ran to the river. He called it Sungai Nuah, the old river, because it always seemed to know more than anyone else. Sometimes he talked to it like a friend. Where do you go when you turn behind the mountain? He asked, tossing a pebble into the current. Do you mean the sea? Or do you just loop around and laugh at me for asking? The river never answered, but Arga liked to imagine it chuckled softly in its ripples. On one day, after a heavy storm, Arga saw something caught among the reeds. A tiny wooden boat, carved roughly by hand. You came for me, didn't you? He grinned, his eyes shining with curiosity. Without hesitation, he pushed the boat into the water and jumped in. The river roared, But Arga whooped with excitement. His hair whipped in the wind and he shouted, "Let's go, Sungatua! Show me your secrets!" The boat carried him past fields of waving rice, through forests humming with cicadas, and under bridges where people shouted in surprise. He laughed the whole way, fearless and alive. By nightfall, the river calmed, and the air smelled different, salty and white. Arga blinked in awe as he saw the sea stretched out before him, glowing under the moonlight. For a long time he said nothing. Then he whispered, "So, this is where your story ends." He spent the night on the shore, watching the stars melt into dawn. When he finally returned home, barefoot and sunburned, his mother scolded him until she ran out of bread. Arga just smiled, eyes still full of the sea. That evening, he went back to the river bank. "Thank you," he said softly. The river gurgled, as if it was laughing again. Our third and final prompt of this story, I decided to change a little bit. I wanted the ending to be more symbolic, and therefore, I wanted this ending to be more an open ending instead of a concluded ending. And here is the result. Arga was the kind of boy who never stopped asking questions, big ones, strange ones, the kind that make grown up sigh. Why does the wind never get tired? What do clouds do when no one's watching? Does the river remember the rain? He didn't ask to annoy anyone. He just needed to know. And when no one answered him, he went to the one place that never scolded him for wandering, the river behind his house. He called it Sungai Tua, the old river, because it looked like it had seen everything. He sit on the bank, bare feet in the mud, talking to it as thought it was listening. Sometimes he swore it was. After a storm, one afternoon, Arga noticed a small wooden boat wedged between the reeds. It was old and cracked, but it looked strangely familiar, like something that had been waiting. He grinned. "You want me to come, don't you?" He stepped in without a second thought. The current caught him instantly. The village faded him behind him, and the river grew wider, darker. Trees leaned over the water like they were whispering secrets. The air smelled of rain and earth and something else, something ancient. Arga laughed at first, shouting into the wind and asking questions the river couldn't answer. But as the day turned to dusk, his laughter grew quiet. He could feel the river pulling harder now, tugging him towards somewhere unseen. He looked up at the sky, now streaked with orange and violet, and whispered, "Alright then, show me." The boat drifted into the thick mist. When the sun rose the next morning, the river looked calm again, as if nothing had ever happened. The villager found the boy's sandals near the bank, side by side, facing the water. Some said the current took him to the sea. Others said the river finally answered his question. But sometimes, on a quiet evenings, when the water ripples just right, it sounds like laughter, soft and far away. So after we read the three stories that I made with AI, let us compare between these three. So the first one, the original version, which I haven't refined anything, just a simple text or prompt, give me a short story about a boy and the river. Well, this surprised me a lot, not gonna lie, because this one, it has a decent amount of story. It is simple and peaceful story, and it has this clear message, calm atmosphere, and also surprisingly easy to understand. that even kids can understand. And it's alright, but like what it lacks is just this: the boy feels plain, and there's not much of personality that the boy have in that story. And that's why for number two, I decided to focus, I added more personality to the boy so I can create that character development. And that's for our second vision. It has Arga, our main character. He became lively, curious, and expressive, which you can see there's more personality, which I'm glad there is. And not only that, he has this engaging tone and that adventurous feeling. However, my opinion, I feel like the story lacks that lore, that mysterious vibe where like instead of just like concluded ending, like the ending has been concluded. I simply don't like that. Um I like an open ending, like where you are forced to think or theorize what happened to the boy, and it gives that more of a lore to it. And that's why for number three, I decided to add that symbolic and open-ended version, which it changes a lot from that second to the third. Now the third has that kind of poetic and a mysterious retelling where Arga's fate is unknown. Like the ending is left open to interpretation. Like you have to theorize what happened to him, to the boy. Like what happened to the boy? Did the boy got lost? Did the boy go somewhere? Did the boy actually go to another dimension? Like you have to, like you are forced to theorize. Like this, what's so good about it? It also create that deep, emotional, and thought provoking that encourage people to do some reflection. However, I feel also like that the ending was confusing for some reader, which I find it understandable, but I prefer this third version. So, what can we analyze from this video? Alright, each story version evolved through prompt engineering. The first prompt is simple, so it's generally a basic narrative, so it's nothing surprising. The second prompt, it refined the story by adding personality, that it could prove that AI can adapt to tone and character depth. And the last prompt, the third prompt, it pushed the AI's creativity further, guiding AI to produce symbolism and emotional complexity, which how we have this uh, open ending. Now, this demonstrates how specific and detailed the prompt can shape AI output from a plain story to one rich in emotion and meaning. Using generative AI to write The Boy and the River shows that AI is not just a writing tool, but a creative collaborator. By carefully crafting prompts, we can guide the AI to produce a different version of the same story, each with its own emotions, personalities, and symbolism. It highlights that human creativity and AI intelligence complement each other. Human provides directions and intentions, while AI brings variation in imaginations. So, in the end, this project taught me that prompt engineering is an art of communication. The clearer and more creative we are, the better AI understands our vision. Through generative I transform a simple idea, a boy and a river, into three distinct stories: peaceful, adventurous, and mysterious. This experience proves that AI can become a bridge between imagination and creation. And that is it for this video. Thank you for watching for my project for this generative AI. and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye bye.